some breaking old world news for you. Let me say this first. I fully expected by now to be here, happily sat, paging through the Beastmen Arcane Journal, comparing it to previous editions of Beastmen rules and using my whiteboard in a humorous way to figure out whether or not it's the best version of the rules thus far. Often I believe it is, but we'll get to that. But Beastmen are not here! Games Workshop alluded to that today in a kind of slightly jokey article on the Warhammer community website where they made mention of them being lost on the beast paths. Quite what that means, I'm not sure. But what they did do was reveal some stonking new news for Wood Elves in the old world, and I'll get to that in just a minute. What is happening with Beastmen? Well, it is a fair approximation by this point that the week with no releases that was a bit of a strange blip is almost certainly when the Beastmen were due to go up on pre-order. We know that the Beastmen Arcane Journal has been completed, there have been leaks of it, various kind of army lists and rules and magic items have already made their way out into the ether and have had mixed responses. I did speculate during the Warhammer podcast this week whether or not that perhaps the negative reaction that had been had by the community to the kind of the Beastmen rules had prompted a kind of a recall or a remake of the Beastmen Arcane Journal. I acknowledge I think that's highly unlikely. I don't think Games Workshop are going to pulp an entire print run just because the rest of us out here in the world got a bit whiny about the rules. What I do wonder is whether perhaps there's been a major misprint, perhaps, for example, pages being transposed or printed twice or printed in the wrong language partway through a copy of the book, which might necessitate a rerun of the print run before the Arcane Journal hits the shelves. Equally, I wonder whether or not perhaps there's been some kind of issue someone's pointed out, perhaps a copyrighted term that made its way into the Arcane Journal and was only noticed by legal after the print run had been completed. In any event, once I get more news on that, I will share it with you. But today, what I want to share with you is this fabulous news from the Wood Elf preview that was featured on the Warhammer community site. A lot of this preview just kind of talks about what the lore focus for this particular Arcane Journal is going to be. As we expected, it's Wood Elves versus Beastmen for the battle report. It's Orion trying to hunt down Krollmore. What is really cool is it mentions specifically in kind of the description of the battle that's fought as part and parcel of the Wood Elf Arcane Journal is that Orion is there to kill the infant that Krollmore has with him, suggesting in fact that what was initially assumed to be some kind of chaos familiar with the Krollmore miniature may well in fact be a toddler version of Morgor, which I think is amazing. This is Morgor the Everspawn, the world's most powerful Chaos Beastman, immortal and constantly respawning. By the way, here he is now, he's about 3 and, blowing raspberries at you. I think that's great. And it's a really kind of cool piece of lore to find out that actually this miniature really isn't one special character, it's 2 special characters. What else, though, did we see as part and parcel of this? Well, while they were busy talking about, what changes they'd made to the lore and what they were hoping to achieve with Wood Elves in this edition of the game, there were 3 colour pictures, in fact, that drew my attention. And here they are. First and foremost, yes, that is an old school metal tree man. Now I know that we have the new kind of weird twisty 6th edition one coming back because the plastic tree man remains part of the Silverdeath kit and they're keeping it there. But this is the first confirmation that what's going to be either a made to order or perhaps just a re-release of some classic metal kits that haven't been announced thus far are coming back to the tabletop. This is a classic metal tree man. I love these old school tree men from kind of the 4th, 5th edition era of fantasy. And going hand in hand in that, we finally have confirmation of what's happening with dryads in Warhammer the Old World. Yes, it's the metal dryads that are pictured, just kind of hiding quietly in the corner of this picture down here. These are the kind of old, well, they were dryad miniatures for going on about 15 years until they released kind of the multi-part plastic ones that have since the last 20 odd years spent their time being Warhammer Fantasy and now Age of Sigmar dryads. I'm sure there is nothing to stop you from using the plastic tree man and the plastic dryads should you wish to do so. But for those of us who are old grognards like me, it is amazing to see them reaching back into the back of the cupboard and pulling out these old school metal dryads that I always really loved. and giving gamers the opportunity to kind of buy them again and use them as part and parcel of the old world army. I think it captures a lot of the vibe and the thing that makes Old World unique compared to, for example, Age of Sigmar or like late 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle. But that's not all. There are two further things that are hinted at. Well, one's outright shown and one is hinted at in the preview today. The first is this. Not just a metal tree man, it's Durthu! It is the classic Durthu miniature. I am assuming that this is not coming back just as yet another metal tree man that you can use. I am wondering whether or not this is going to mean that Durthu makes a reappearance as a character in the Arcane Journal. He hasn't been a character in Wood Elves, I don't think, since... God, I don't think... He may have appeared in 7th edition, but failing that, it was 5th edition that we last saw the rules for Durthu, the mightiest of all tree men. The one for which the Shards of Durthu have since kind of made their appearance in kind of Age of Sigmar and kind of the later period of... the Spirit of Durthu, not Shards of Durthu, the Spirits of Durthu have made their appearance in later versions of kind of the Wood Elf rules. There is one other thing that is hinted at in this kind of Arcane Journal preview, and that's the brief kind of mention that yes, there are other characters, the Sisters of Twilight and Ariel, who are around and about during this area. The article doesn't say we're not doing those, it says we're not getting to them yet. And it also talks about a whole host of further books that are due to be published after the Cathay Arcane Journal and the Cathay Army release is made, suggesting that this is not over. In fact, they clarify something that I've been speculating for some time, which is that we're going to advance over kind of the next few years, about 10 years of kind of the old world timeline as they release a number of books flitting around what's happening in different parts of the old world, hopefully giving us new models or re-releasing old models with new rules. Yeah, it's dead exciting. It's a great day in the old world. On that bombshell, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.